had played, but Gary took on h7 immediately. He did not pause. He allowed rook takes b2, and now he's played a4.
Okay,
and
this is a much more sensible choice by Gary.
Even if you get the a pawn, you'll be left with your a pawn, which is not exactly the pawn you want to have in order to win this game.
And it's a blitz game now, guys. 1 minute to 3 minutes, as Gary's just played the move h4.
This is looking this is looking really drawn, actually.
h4.
Wait. Rook b4.
Yeah, h4 is rook b4, though. Hold on.
Rook b4, cutting off the king, so the king doesn't get counterplay with king f4, king g5.
But also just attacking stuff.
Yeah, that too.
Both pawns are going to drop if you try to move your rook away. Is h4 a mistake?
I don't know, but it looks like rook b4 is really good.
Looks, I mean, huge.
And he's played it because what you said, Jennifer, the white king is completely cut off now. And I'm going to just play b6, king f5, and I'm going to start picking up some weak pawns. Rook h6 on the board. Okay, it makes sense. Gary's prepping. If you go king f5, h5 will draw the game. So king f6.
So king f7 king was played, h5 on the board.
Right. And like you say,
look at this. Gary was hoping after this capture to play rook b5, and if you play rook b4, trade the rooks, and his king quickly comes over. That's what he was hoping for. That line, well, we're seeing it differently now. If you go back one move,
right,
yes, rook takes, no, keep going. h5 takes, rook takes a4, and then rook b5. And if you play,
then he has
rook b4, then rip it off and play king to d4, and we get the draw. Gary is
gonna get the same thing.
Drawing anyway. Look at that.
Yeah, because the king is so far away. So if rook a4, rook b5 is going to force rook b4, right?
Let me just
you need your king like to leap to c7 or something.
So
b6, right? Rook b5. So if you play rook a4, rook b5.
Yes, exactly.
That's transposes.
Gary has found his way to it. Now this is the position that he has to worry about. He played rook to e4, also calculating that he'd be drawing that endgame as well.
That king and pawn endgame.
That king and pawn endgame, because he could not be forced away from his pawn.
But king D, this is a draw, guys. I mean, this is an easy draw, actually. The king comes to c2.
Wow.
Gary
showed some tenacity.
Wait a minute.
Look at Magnus. Magnus is disgusted. Magnus is thinking, man, I let him off the hook. You called Magnus a legend, by the way. You've used this word twice, the legends. Magnus is quite young and still playing, but he is indeed going to go down as one of the greatest players ever. But the chance to defeat Gary has come up short. The truth, the legend Gary Kasparov playing
slipped away.
Past legend playing against the present or the future legend, Magnus Carlsen, but it has slipped away indeed. And the game has ended in a draw. Kudos to Gary for surviving what looked like